All right, so get ready because today we're diving into a question that has fascinated people for
That's
centuries.
a big one.
Yeah. Is time travel actually possible? And you've given us some really interesting research to work with for this deep dive.
Yeah, looking forward to unpacking
The
it.
deep dive into the science, the paradoxes, and even how time travel shows up in our favorite stories.
Well, and it's really amazing, how much we've learned about time, even without, having those time machines,
Right.
like in the movies, quite yet.
Exactly. And speaking of movies, before we get into all the details,
Mhm.
let's just take a second to actually imagine it.
Okay.
If you could travel through time, where would you go? What would you want to see or change?
Ooh,
Just something to keep in mind as we go because things are going to get pretty wild.
I love it. That's a great way to frame this whole conversation before we even think about,
Yeah.
traveling through time. We have to like really understand what time even is.
Right. We all experience it, but can we even define it?
Exactly. And, we tend to think of time as this constant thing, right? This ticking clock that's always moving forward.
Yeah.
But Einstein's theory of relativity,
Right.
really kind of blew up our understanding of what time is.
That's not so simple.
It's not so simple. It's not absolute. It's relative.
Yeah. And the article you sent mentions how time actually moves slower the higher up you are
Yeah.
because of gravity.
Wild.
So if I lived on top of Mount Everest, I would age slower than someone at sea level.
That's the idea.
What? That's crazy.
Yeah, it's wild. Think of it kind of like a river, right?
Okay.
That's always flowing, but the current
Mm.
isn't always the same everywhere.
Right.
So gravity,
Yeah.
acts like a dam.
Yeah.
It's slowing down the flow of time around really massive objects.
So time is more like a flowing river than a ticking clock.
Yeah,
That's an interesting way to think about
I
it.
like that analogy.
So what else should we know about the nature of time, before we start talking about actually traveling through it?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think a big concept here is entropy, which is, it's all about disorder in the universe.
Okay.
Basically saying that, things tend to go from order to disorder.
Mm.
So, like, heat always flows from hot to cold,
Right.
never the other way around.
Right.
And so that kind of direction, from order to disorder helps us understand the past and the future.
Okay.
It's kind of like, an arrow of time pointing in which direction time is flowing.
So entropy is like the universe's way of making sure time keeps moving forward.
I like that. Yeah.
That mean going back in time is even more complicated than we thought?
Yeah, exactly. It suggests, that time does have this inherent direction,
Yeah.
which makes reversing it a bit tricky.
Yeah.
But, let's throw another question out there. What if our perception of past, present, future is just that? Our perception.
Okay.
What if fundamentally time isn't linear at all?
Okay, now we're really getting into it.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Einstein. How did his work take us from science fiction to like actual scientific theories about time travel?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, Einstein's concept of space-time
Mhm.
was revolutionary because he proposed, it's not just space and time separately,
Mhm.
but this combined like four-dimensional fabric,
Okay.
3 dimensions for space, and then one for time.
Right.
And here's the thing, right?
Yeah.
This fabric can actually be warped
What?
by massive objects like planets and stars.
Okay, so like if you imagine a bowling ball on a trampoline,
Exactly.
it bends the fabric.
Exactly.
That's kind of like how a planet is warping space-time.
That's the idea.
Wow.
And then this kind of leads to another crazy idea,
Okay.
which is that the faster you move through space,
Right?
the slower you move through time,
Oh, wow.
which is all a part of Einstein's theory of relativity.
So we're talking about like time dilation, right?
Exactly.
Where astronauts on the International Space Station actually age a tiny bit slower than people on Earth because they're moving faster.
Precisely. That tiny little difference is a real-world example of, movement through space and how that impacts the passage of time.
Okay, so Einstein's theories suggest that time travel might actually be possible, at least in theory.
Yeah.
But what about all the paradoxes that seem to make it impossible?
Right.
That's where things get really complicated, right?
Absolutely. And, one of the most famous ones is the grandfather paradox.
Yes.
Imagine you travel back in time
Okay.
and you accidentally prevent your own grandparents from meeting.
Uh-oh.
Would you even exist to travel back in time in the first place?
Right.
It creates this like logical loop
Right.
that seems impossible to resolve.
It's mind-boggling.
Right.
Or what if you went back in time to kill Hitler,
Ooh.
like you see in so many movies?
Right.
If you succeeded, the very reason you travel back in time would cease to exist.
Right. Would history just rewrite itself?
It would just disappear.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Poof.
It's scary to think about.
Well, and I think these paradoxes really show you the potential, for contradictions when it comes to time travel.
Yeah.
And, do they even make it logically possible? But there have been some mind-blowing solutions proposed,
Yeah.
like many worlds interpretation,
Okay.
which suggests that every choice we make actually creates a new universe.
So instead of changing your own past, you would shift into a whole new universe where that change happened.
Yeah, exactly. So it gets around the paradoxes by saying, there isn't just one timeline,
Okay.
but there's an infinite number of them branching off
Right.
with every decision that we make.
So you're essentially creating a copy
Yeah,
of the universe
kind of.
every time you make a choice.
Every time.
Wow.
But then there's another idea,
Okay.
the chronology protection conjecture,
Okay.
which suggests that maybe the universe itself has these built-in safeguards
Okay.
to prevent these paradoxes.
So maybe the universe has a way of stopping us from messing things up too badly,
It's a very fascinating possibility.
even if we could time travel.
Yeah. And it highlights that, that tension, right,
Yeah.
between what might be theoretically possible based on physics
Right.
and what the universe itself might actually allow.
Right. It's blowing my mind. And we've only just scratched the surface. So let's dive into some of the recent research that's giving scientists even more to think about when it comes to the possibility of time travel.
Yeah, I'm excited to get into this.
You too?
Some really intriguing breakthroughs that suggest time travel might not be as far-fetched as we once thought.
Let's hear it. So we've talked about, how time might not be what we think it is,
Right.
and how Einstein's theories sort of cracked open the door to this possibility of time travel.
Yeah.
But if it really is possible, wouldn't there be some pretty obvious signs?
It's a great point, and,
Yeah.
it's a bit like that, Fermi paradox.
Right.
But for time travelers, instead of aliens,
Yep.
if it were easy, wouldn't we be seeing them all over the place?
Exactly. Where are all the time travelers? I haven't seen anyone,
Uh-huh.
rocking a futuristic jumpsuit or
Right.
talking about next week's lottery numbers.
Exactly. And it puzzled Stephen Hawking, too.
Really?
Yeah, he believed that, time travel might be possible on very small scales,
Okay.
like the quantum level,
Mm-hmm.
but sending a person through time might be fundamentally impossible.
So maybe no time traveling humans just yet.
Yeah, maybe not.
But the article you sent mentions some really exciting new research,
Yeah.
right? Something about a potential workaround for the energy problem.
Yeah.
That's always been a major obstacle.
Huge.
Yeah, for time travel theories.
Absolutely. So it's the work of Mallory Khanna and Price,
Okay.
and it's pretty groundbreaking.
Okay.
They suggest using something called naked line singularities, or NLS for short.
NLS?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to need you to break that down for us non-physicists.
Sure. Sure.
What are these NLS things and how do they relate to time travel?
Okay, so think of NLS as like points in space-time,
Okay.
where gravity is just incredibly intense.
Okay.
And what they're proposing is using these to create what are known as closed time-like curves.
Closed time-like curve.
Yeah, so basically a loop in space-time.
So if you could travel along one of these loops,
Yeah.
you'd essentially be traveling through time.
That's the idea.
Okay.
And the reason this is so exciting
Yeah.
is that this model uses positive mass,
Uh-huh.
which actually exists in the universe, right?
Right.
Unlike a lot of other theories that rely on things like exotic matter or negative math that we've never actually observed.
So instead of needing something totally theoretical to make time travel work,
Yeah,
they're saying we might be able to do it using stuff that's already out there.
exactly. It's
Yeah.
a huge shift in thinking.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, maybe we don't need to break the laws of physics to travel through time.
Right.
Maybe we just need to figure out how to manipulate them in the right way.
So how would we actually do that?
Well, so their model proposes using the intense gravity around an NLS
Okay.
to basically warp space-time so much that it creates a loop.
Okay.
It's like if you imagine bending a sheet of paper so far that the ends touch,
Uh-huh.
you create a shortcut between 2 points.
So if we could harness the power of these NLS,
Yeah,
we might be able to actually create those loops in space-time.
that's the idea.
Those closed time-like curves.
Yeah, it's still very theoretical, of course,
Sure.
but it offers a really kind of tantalizing glimpse
Yeah.
into what might be possible.
It's so fascinating. It makes you wonder, how close are we really to cracking the code of time travel? But while we're waiting for, scientists to actually build these time machines,
Right.
let's take a detour into the world of fiction.
Okay.
I mean, time travel is such a staple of pop culture.
It's huge.
I'm curious to hear your take on how different stories deal with all these mind-bending possibilities
Yeah.
and paradoxes we've been talking about.
It's a great point, and I think, yeah.
Fiction often provides this way to explore the what-ifs
Right.
of time travel
Yeah.
in a safe, imaginative space.
Right.
And different stories handle these rules and consequences
Yeah.
in very different ways.
Let's start with a classic,
Okay.
Doctor Who.
Hmm.
The Doctor zips through time and space in the TARDIS, seemingly able to go anywhere, anywhen.
Right.
But even in that universe, there are limits.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Doctor Who introduces this concept of fixed points in time.
Okay.
These are events that are so crucial that they can't be changed,
Even with a time machine.
even with a time machine.
Wow.
It's a clever narrative device,
Yeah.
but it also reflects some of these ideas we've been talking about,
Yeah.
like the chronology protection conjecture.
Yeah.
Maybe the universe itself has safeguards to prevent certain events from being altered.
So even in a universe with a time-traveling alien,
Yeah,
there are still rules.
it seems so.
Wow.
Now contrast that with something like Harry
Yeah.
Potter's Time Turners. Okay, yes.
Which allow for these limited jumps back in time,
Yeah.
but always within a fixed timeline.
Right.
It kind of suggests this more deterministic view of time where the past is unchangeable.
It always seemed a little strange to me.
Yeah.
If you can't actually change anything,
Right.
what's the point of going back just to witness events?
Yeah, it raises those questions.
Or maybe try to understand them better.
Exactly, about free will and whether we truly have the power to shape our own destinies.
It seems like there's not as much,
Right,
adventure in that kind of time travel.
right,
And then you have universes like the one in The Flash,
right,
where it's all about the multiverse.
right.
In that world, time travel is messy.
Yeah, it is.
It often creates alternate timelines, branching realities.
It gets complicated.
So instead of changing the past, you're essentially creating new parallel universes where those changes play out.
Exactly. It's like you can have your cake and eat it, too.
Right. You can explore different possibilities without completely,
Right.
erasing your own existence.
Exactly.
It's amazing how these different universes grapple with
Yeah.
the paradoxes and consequences of time travel.
Yeah, in their own way, right?
Yeah, in their own way.
It reflects, I think, our enduring fascination with this concept and how it forces us to think about the nature of reality itself.
Okay, so we've gone through the mind-bending science, the paradoxes, and even how time travel plays out in,
I know.
our favorite stories. But let's get back to reality for a minute.
Okay.
Even if we could figure out how to build a time machine,
Yeah.
is it something we should even be messing with?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
The ethical implications of time travel are just enormous. And it's not just about the physics, it's about the potential impact on humanity
Right.
and the very fabric of our existence.
Yeah, there's so much potential for things to go wrong.
Yeah.
Imagine knowing the future, you could manipulate the stock market.
Right.
You could win every lottery. You could even influence elections.
The possibilities are endless.
Who gets to decide who has access to that power?
Exactly. And what about, the impact on history? If we could go back and change the past,
Right.
wouldn't we risk unraveling, the very events that led to who we are today?
Right.
It's a lot of responsibility to bear.
That makes you wonder, maybe some things are better left unknown.
Yeah.
Maybe the mysteries of time are best left to our imaginations.
Right.
And those amazing stories we were just talking about.
Yeah.
But, maybe that's just my fear of paradoxes talking.
Sure.
What do you think? Should we be striving to unlock the secrets of time travel? Or are some doors better left closed? It feels like we've been all over the place in this deep dive.
Yeah.
We've gone from like the mind-bending physics of space-time
Right.
to the paradoxes that make time travel seem impossible.
Yeah.
We've even explored the ethical dilemmas.
Yeah. It's a lot.
That's a lot to think about.
It really shows you how much there is to learn
Yeah.
about time and the universe.
So much we don't know.
Yeah. But there's one concept, I think, from our research
Okay.
that's really worth thinking about.
Okay.
You remember how we talked about entropy?
Yes, that arrow of time always pointing towards disorder.
Exactly. And physicist Richard Miller, he has this really fascinating theory where he suggests that the future doesn't actually exist yet.
Right. So you're saying
It's constantly being created as time unfolds.
the future isn't set in stone.
It's like we're all writing the script as
Yeah.
we go along.
So every choice we make,
Every action
we take contributes to shaping that future.
So in a sense,
Yeah.
we're all time travelers.
Yeah. In a way, we are. Right.
That's a really cool way to think about it. We're all moving into a future that doesn't exist yet.
Yeah.
Creating it.
With every step.
With every step we take.
Yeah.
Wow, if you think back to that question we started with.
Yeah.
About where you would go, what you would change if you could travel through time.
Maybe the most important journey.
Yeah.
Isn't through, like, the past or the future.
Right.
But, like, through the present moment.
It's the present moment, exactly.
It's powerful.
It's not about trying to change the past or control the future.
Right.
But making the most of the now.
Yeah.
Knowing that, we have this power to shape what comes next.
We might not have time machines yet.
We don't.
But we all have the ability to, influence the future.
Through the choices.
Through our actions and our choices.
We make.
And that's pretty incredible in itself.
Absolutely.
Changes the whole idea of time travel.
Yeah.
Instead of looking outward
to,
like, the vastness of time and space.
Right.
The real journey is inward.
Yeah.
Toward understanding, our role in shaping the future.
It's a journey that, each of us is on.
Yeah.
Whether we realize it or not.
Whether we realize it or not, and it's full of endless possibilities.
It is.
Well, on that note,
yeah,
I think we've reached the end of our deep dive.
Yeah.
Another one down.
Like any good journey, it leaves us with more questions than answers.
Always.
But we encourage you to explore the source material.
Yeah, definitely.
We discussed today and, continue to ponder these fascinating concepts.
Keep questioning.
Yeah.
Keep exploring.
And who knows, maybe one day you'll be the one making groundbreaking discoveries about time.
That would be awesome.
About time in the universe.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
On this incredible exploration of time travel.
Yeah.
Until next time, keep looking up.
Yes.
And keep wondering about the mysteries that lie beyond the horizon.